So this is Mordechai Kedar, a highly respected Israeli scholar of Arab culture. He lectures at Bar-Ilan University. And here he is on Al Jazeera, the channel, by the way, which had a journalist who was hiding hostages inside of Gaza, imprisoning them. And here he is giving a piece of his mind to a Muslim audience on Al Jazeera. And he speaks in Arabic, fluent Arabic. Have a watch.
يا أخي نحن اليهود كنا في القدس
أنتم الهيكل الأول والثاني وداود وسليمان
بأكاذيبكم يا أخي أنا لا مكاتعك كنا في القدس قبل أكثر من 3000 عام عندما كان آباء المسلمون يشربون الخمر والنبيذ ويئدون البنات ويعبدون العزى واللات والمنات في البادية العربية. نحن كنا في القدس نعبد الإله الواحد الأوحد. عندما كنتم عبدة الأصنام في البادية العربية فماذا تتكلم؟ داود وسليمان وكل الأنبياء كانوا يهود، حتى عيسى بن مريم ولد يهوديا وعاش يهوديا وكان يهوديا. انت جاء الإسلام للعالم في القرن السابع ليبيد العالم وليبسط ثقافة البادية على الحضارة، ونحن عدنا إلى أرض أجدادنا لنعيد دولتنا ولنعيد استقلالنا ولنعيد حريتنا من نير الإسلام. ونحن لسنا أهل ذمة لأحد، ونحن لسنا أحفاد الكردة والخنازير كما أنت تؤمن، ونحن لسنا قتلة الأنبياء، ونحن لسنا عايشين تحت نيركم، ونحن لسنا صاغرين ولا ندفع الجزية لأحد حتى للمسلمين. لماذا نحن شعب وديننا ليس دين باطل وأنتم لستم دين حق. كل دين له دين، كل شعب له دين، وأنت عليكم أن تعترفوا بحقوق الآخرين، لأنكم بعد أن احتللتم الشرق الأوسط، جغرافية الشرق الأوسط، احتللتم ماضي الشرق الأوسط وتاريخ الشرق الأوسط، واحتللتم أديان الشرق الأوسط. الفلسطينيون عليهم أن يرفعوا أيديهم إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى 5 مرات كل يوم ليشكره ويحمدوه بأن مشكلتهم هي مع الإسرائيليين وليس مع السوريين وليس مع الروس وليس مع العراقيين وليس مع المصريين وليس حتى مع الأردنيين وليس مع الإيرانيين من إخوانهم الألداء الذين عملوهم بصورة يعلمها الجميع. الشعب العربي والإسلامي يعلم بأن مصدر اسم القدس هو أصلا بيت المقدس. بيت المقدس هذا هو يعني ما ذكر الأخ في الاستوديو. بيت المقدس ليس إلا الصورة العربية لبيت مقداش، هذا هو الهيكل اليهودي. هذا دليل من اللغة العربية بأن هذا المكان كان بيت مقداش اليهودي، وهذا انتقل إلى العربية باسم بيت المقدس. وهذا هو أصل كل من له كثرة عقل في رأسه يعلم هذه الحقيقة. العالم العربي فاشل، الأمة الإسلامية فاشلة. من يريدكم؟ نحن دولة متقدمة، نحن دولة ديمقراطية، نحن دولة متطورة OECD. الطب في إسرائيل لو فتحت إسرائيل أبوابها أمام العرب لانتقل نصفهم إلى إسرائيل في اليوم الأول والنصف الثاني في اليوم الثاني. هذا هو الحقيقة الناسية التي لا يمكن لأحد أن ينكرها حتى ولو صح في استوديوهات الجزيرة.
Wow. This is really interesting, and it touches on 2 points that I feel like Israel and the Jewish people need to start taking into account and on board. The first one is that we are not fighting a war in the West. This is a war in the Middle East. And in the Middle East, there are 2 things which are respected. Strength is respected, uncompromising strength. And number 2 is invoking the name of God. Unfortunately, on both fronts, Israel hasn't always had this approach. Instead of uncompromising strength, they've tried land for peace, concessions, negotiation, all of that. Whereas the other side has been utterly uncompromising from the very inception. We want the whole thing. We don't want a Jewish state. And then in terms of invoking the name of God, we've been talking about how we are set up by international law and a democracy, and we have secular Western standards and all of that. And they're not impressed by that. The only thing they're impressed by in the Middle East, in terms of justifying a cause, is when you invoke the name of God. And it's interesting there that Professor Kedar did invoke the name of God and did talk about the fact that the temple that they have their mosque on top of, it is standing on top of the Jewish people's temple, which was there thousands of years ago, before Islam was even invented, as he said. But then again, he goes on to talk about how Israel's progressive and democratic. He was nearly there, but then he suddenly switches. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being democratic, by the way, but ultimately, what are we at our core, and what are we really going to invoke to justify who we are as a people and why we have the right to be there? They are not impressed by international law, democracy, secular morality. They're impressed by us invoking the name of God. And he touches on it there, and I think it's something that we need to do even more of. Uncompromising strength, but also telling a deeply religious and godly centric region that we are the nation of God. The Jewish people were chosen by God to be his emissaries to the world, to be his voice to the world. We are the people who first brought the voice of God into the world. The ideas that they get within Islam derive from, they know this, they acknowledge this, from the Jewish people, from Judaism. And that is what we need to be invoking. And it's actually the only language that they will understand. So it's interesting. That's what they're fighting over. But this is the solution. You've got one side which is talking about secular stuff, and you've got another side talking about religious justifications for being in the land. So you've got to actually shift the equation. The Jewish people have to come into their role and say, no, actually, we're here because God assigned us this land. And they might actually respect that. And why shouldn't we? The Jewish people are the ones that brought so much of God's morality, the 10 Commandments, into the world. This is who we were charged to be. Who's going to teach the world about this, if not the Jewish people? So for me, that's what so much of this comes down to. We're talking totally different languages. And what the Arab world needs to come to terms with is the Jewish people's covenantal relationship with God and with this specific area of land. If only we would say it more clearly. So that's why it's got to be this equation of uncompromising strength and articulating our godly divine purpose. That is the only equation in my mind that can resolve this conflict and can move things forward. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.